Всем привет, я Александр Гостев.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Alexander, and today we're going to talk about the reason Kaspersky Lab studies the target attacks arranged by nation governments, and why and how and what are the tricks on the way. So allow us to start with the general things. Our beloved Mr. Kiselov waving his hands and talking about the battle worm, Regin battle worm. And we published our report about it last year. This is one of the types of proof of the level of the spy program, malware program, that even people of that position care to talk about it. And recently we heard news about the White House email hacking, and immediately Russian hackers have been accused without any proof or details how and why it was and what was it. And recently we published our report about a group named Duke and the modification of the Cozy Duke, which is obviously of Russian origin, that has been responsible for this intrusion into the White House email system. But we need to understand that Duke is a family of malware programs. We have been monitoring them for several years. They definitely have some Russian genes in it, and in a way that's an indicator that we as a Russian company will not try to cover up for the attacks done by Russian government or special services. A recent Bloomberg publication, which you must have read, when our company was accused of, having fun with KGB agents in the sauna. So Kaspersky Lab, that's why Kaspersky Lab never publishes information about the attacks with Russian origin. But if you consider the truth, it's absolutely wrong. If we look at the statistics of our published research reports, so since 2010, when we published information about Stuxnet, and then snowballing attacks arranged by different governments. And in 2014, we published over 10 reports and articles about malware originating from a state, some government. And we need to understand that the number of such attacks is going up lately. And the antivirus industry, the security industry on the whole. Now, all companies are trying to find their own approach because issues arise, and many companies prefer to focus on something very narrow. For instance, companies that only do Chinese target attacks. They do it well, but they are completely ignoring all other threats. And very often they don't have protection from malware from other state. And it's no joke. One of such companies still does not have any region detection where we started. What kind of region? Never heard about this name. And so what's happening when we have ideological battle among countries, and when companies start to play on one side, start to be siding or play a role of a national tool trying to fight the enemies and paying no attention any malware, any other malware. This is a way that many people selected, but we selected something else. This is the picture about companies that specialize on Chinese attacks. So, for instance, CrowdStrike infographics, where 41 41 group of Chinese origin has been detected. So everything they find is China. And I love and respect CrowdStrike. I have many friends, and even I'm wearing their T-shirt. But it's a safe, simple and safe, error-free way. But we have decided to do differently. We decided to make no exception for a malware of Western origin or Russian origin. If we take the latest, most famous examples, we found Stuckness, Duku, and others. Equation that we discovered in February. And then we also have the same list for Russian names. Mini Duke, Red October, Red Spy, Cosmic Duke, and Epic Turla. Why did we decide to study nation-state malware? That's a 1,000 Bitcoin question. And that's the most interesting thing over the last few years. And all the threats can be looked upon as a pyramid where the largest bottom layer is the conventional malware by the people who want to send spam, steal money from the banks. It's over 90% of the traffic. 300,000 new samples every day. Then a thin layer that has to do with target attacks of hacker groups who can work by order, or that can work, at random. If we steal something, we shall find a buyer for it. That's their motto. So some hackers are anonymous and ideological, and a very little share of detected attacks that have been originated by governments, by states. That's the juiciest piece in the security industry. So today we shall have a discussion where we'll try to consider both sides of the coin. As we publish our reports, we present at various conferences, but offline we meet people sometimes who probably have to do with those malware software. We may read something, we may learn something through the grapevine, and it enables us to think like those people on the other side, how they do it, why they do it, and what they think about us. And today, so on behalf of those spooks, the Vitaly is going to talk on behalf of the cyber spy. My name is Vitaly, and I work I don't work anywhere. Serious. So, For the last 10 years, I've been working in Kaspersky lab, but now I am not working anywhere. I'm not officially employed, so I can speak on behalf of the other side, and I'll protect, I'll defend the state-owned malware services. We are just better. You think we wear the suits to our office? No, we are dressed in a comfortable, casual style. We are not wearing any insignia, and we have unlimited access to the internet. And definitely, we have interception of the best fiber optics. We have the best programmers, math guys, cryptographers, unlimited budget. Who can have more? And most important, you are sweating here. How are you going to make a presentation to make it compliant? We don't care. We are compliant because we are the law. So speaking about the antivirus company, definitely we look up to them. We have a limited budget. We have some 30% R&D of the budget for research, but those people have billions, and they don't have to spend on marketing and sales while we have to. And we are in permanent search for good talents, researchers. And indeed, sometimes it takes years to find a good expert. For instance, Kaspersky lab virtually, well, for 2 years have been searching for the experts in Israel. Well, seems to be a country that's packed with good programmers and security guys, but probably it's either our plank is too high or the situation is so poor that it takes 2 years to find the proper guy. But then, no, they've been working for you for a long time. You didn't just know about it. Well, that's an option. And every year, indeed, we improve our technology. Probably the breakthrough revolutionary event has become the cloud. In particular, we call it Kaspersky Security Network. This is our main tool, which enables us in real time to detect new attacks globally. We used to wait before when the users find something suspicious in his computer and send it to us, then we have a look. And then we detect, and we don't know the holistic situation. Now, it has turned around completely. We can find it easily, fastly, and no matter where. We kind of, go like to a supermarket and let's have a look. What are the suspicious files in Vatican? We have clients in Vatican, too. Clients, or in the North Korea. And in this way, in the regions where we can suspect some threats, we can easily find them. So we have really cut the response time. We understand that what we are looking for is just the tip of the iceberg. Probably 1% of all the target attacks arranged by nation-state agencies. But definitely we see that there's much more, but we focus on a simple task in this situation. We need to protect our users. People paid us money. People trust us, so we need to protect them independently of the origin of this malware. Is it an individual hacker who wants to pinch his wallet, or a state who wants to control this guy? There's no difference. So that's why how we work. Thank you for the cloud, because it goes through our fiber channel, and let us arrange a small show of the arguments. And I would like to show here that you are free to side up with us, dark side or the white side. And we would request you to vote for the strongest arguments. So as for the zero-day vulnerability, we have unrestricted, unlimited access. We have our own exploit writers. There's black market where you can go and anonymously buy any exploit for any product. We have our favorite vendor list, but we prefer kernel exploits because they're the most efficient. We can be successful once, and that's it. Then you don't have to worry and just build your infrastructure. When Vitaly says that they have many 0 days, that's true, but it's their weak link in the chain. They are exactly 0-day addicted. Every target attack arranged by a state uses 0-day vulnerability. And when I go back to years that we spent fighting the conventional cyber crimers, so 0-day probably, we could detect once a year. But when we look at the government state software, we discover now several 0 days a year. So somehow 0 days for Windows and Adobe and Java. Now search for these 0 days is our favorite pastime, stimulus, impetus. Why? Because virtually always, if we find that there's something new, 0-day, that's us, yeah. And tell you more, we target our technologies in products and our traps technology and collection technology exclusively for 0-day search. We focus not so much on the malware code, but exploits. Find an exploit, you will find the rest. This is a starting point that allows you to unroll, roll out all the chains, and they have to permanently use more and more 0 days. And for them, their problem is after we find it, they immediately lose a lots of tools of their efficiency. And efficiency really goes down. And it's once we discover this 0-day, their years of their activity are down the drain. Have you ever gone mushrooming to a forest? Have you ever seen mushrooms that somebody collected and put? That's what you are getting, guys. All right, tell me. As for the crypto, we finance it. We boost your minds so that you would create wonderful crypto algorithms, and then we can sign our own malware with wonderful certificates that we disseminate, and you believe that they use wonderful cryptography and you can trust the digital signature. We definitely force you to select the proper constants, and we create standards. Once you deviate from the standard, you are not so-called an orthodox programmer. And for our malware, we select right constants with modifiable algorithms so that, we just send the trash to people. But we encrypt our protocol in a very secure way. Well, when you sign your malware with a certificate of Microsoft. This way, you actually sabotage the basis of information security across the globe. Yes, all infrastructure of crypto keys is built on trust. There is a certification center that issues certificates that should control the execution. And everybody believes the system is built on trust. And at a certain moment, we're getting a Mr. Kamluk from an ABC company who just will take and use certificate, Microsoft certificate, to sign programs, and then Microsoft has to to revoke all the files.
I met lots of problems. What's your last name? So this is so we're doing everything just to make you happy. Moreover, that's we have examples of successful use of fighting attacks FIDOS update when the state computer is trying to download the Windows updates, and then instead of Windows update, so something else installed, so spy software is installed instead of Windows update. So any similar technologies, so they destroy the security environment, and that becomes a general issue, and the use of elite types of crypto algorithms, so it's kind of a red rag for us. And so we'll look at a certain file which communicates to the server, and then encrypting the data, and so they see 6 algorithm, for example. So who presently in the world can use this RC6? So there are quite very few organizations like that who can use such fresh, new, freshly developed algorithms. So, and that's, by the way, a sign that we qualify such attacks as the most challenging, and we attribute it, and so we think that a state has initiated this one. So because RC6 being so complicated. So if you want something simpler, so use Camellia. Another point, our malware is the best. It's the most complex, and we do the research, cybercrime research, and so overuse, Zeus, mobile. So this is just nothing. It's not serious, and the peanuts compared to this one. So you think that you set the plank, set the sites? No, hackers. It's not. So the target was set much higher, and many much earlier than you did it. And so malware, cybercrime is nothing, because our modules no one sees. No one sees our rootkits, because we're hiding where you will not even think of looking for us, and because we have many attributes over your standard file systems, and so we put all these bits together. We can add compression, encryption, and we can keep our own files inside. No one would, what sysadmin and even an advanced IT guy would even think that this file system could be above, on top of this kind of storage. And so we can even so we can put viruses in your hard drives, and so we can do anything. So your microcodes can be damaged as well, can be infected as well. We can do the disinfection, and so then the malware of inserted into the hard drives, and so then infected hard drives. So that's a bad thing. It was a surprise for us. So infecting the hard drives, and I can tell you that it's a great challenge for us right now. So there is no a single technology in the world right now that would be capable of taking out of the system, identify the changed software. Because, for example, your hard drive hasn't been modified with the help of this program or not, and so the only way to fight this threat is if you suspect that your hard drives have been compromised. So all you have to do is just to take your hard drive and destroy it with a hammer and throw it into the garbage can, trash can. That's the only way to fight this malware. So actually these modules, so they still have, so those who refuse to do business with us, so they have this infected modules. But the situation is not as bad as Vitaly wants to represent, because the more technologies they use, the better they try to hide the infected files in the system. So using the core of the system. So the more they attempt to do that, so the more chances that we'll find them. We'll find them, because what we find so helps us to find a way to fight. With firmware, there's no breakthrough, unfortunately, but detection of VFS systems and parsing is quite possible. And so they're taking the hardware and looking for so malware modules. So this has been done already. It's a standard de facto system. So we can see that so there are methods of protection which can fight those attacks in a guaranteed fashion. So first they use spooks, and then they get into in the hands of traditional cyber criminals. And what is it reading a disk? You need a so you need a subsector disk reading. That's what you need now. And so there is no defense against us. And you think so you cannot defend yourself against our attacks. So remembering you have our budget and our capabilities, it's impossible to fight against us. So even if you try, we can attack you from different things. We can go through your provider, for example, that provides data centers, hosting, internet channels. So we can go through your provider. And if the difficulties with the provider, we hack the entire country. And so the only way out, so then so we can just go through the fiber optics to the thick internet, or just we have enough budget to watch every satellite. So we can put our own satellite so next to your satellite that would intercept all the waves and all the transmission signals that go to your satellite. So everything, so the information will be intercepted by our. I don't know what to say, because the things that those guys are doing, so they're quite. It's very difficult to stop. Very difficult to stop. Even difficult to identify them, to isolate them before it can stop. You need to say, because when the company under attack or an individual cannot possibly protect himself with the help of available technologies, because there is always a certain level at which an attack occurs. But such actions force different countries of the world to develop and introduce new levels of protection at the national level. And I was talking so because everyone wants to separate their own national segment of the internet and build their own and develop their own rules, because this is certainly the implication of what Edward Snowden was saying, because Edward Snowden told the truth to the whole world and how the special agencies of the United States are spying in the internet. And so now just you all know that Russia recently has taken a lot of steps, not only legislative but technical methods to isolate those segments. But now the situation is the task of protection of companies, corporates, individuals living in a certain state is a responsibility of the state now, and there is no higher authority, and so that's why the state's budgets so will have to fight other countries' budgets, and eventually it will be so a race, a snowball, and the problem will snowball, and this will eventually so the burden will so will for every company so will reduce, because what needs to be implemented would be implemented by the state, and so thus making it easier for the companies to operate. And then so there would be attempts to take measures to destroy the security system of the state. So to invent a virus that would destroy the system. They will not go around the antivirus solutions. So they will replace Windows Update with the compromised Windows updates. Without Windows updates, if you do not release patches, if you do not install them, so everything just will stop functioning. So even Chinese will go and start hacking all the computers in the world. So people are destroying what they need themselves for their survival. So they're destroying this sacred cow of updates, window updates. And so then in 2012, a guru was saying at the time, we did not know about the D5 collisions when the Flame author so they just generated so a false Microsoft certificate, one-on-one, completely combined, was coincided with the legal certificates instead of cryptography. The cryptographers. So in order to only 10 persons in the world, mathematicians of the highest level, can do that. So and then they have huge computing power. They require only 10 persons who can do that, and so very few countries can do that. So they're ready to go to that expense to replace one certificate with another one. But at the same time, this infrastructure of security in general gets destroyed, and this is why it's a double-edged sword that will stab you in the back eventually. Okay, well, no updates, so but we'll just a small embassy we can hack, so we can do something else. So your problems with when you have the problems with updates, then the whole world is shaking with fear. And so let's talk about the victims. So who are you attacking? We can attack anyone. So we don't have to be modest. Everything is legal. We have providers, GSM operators. We have it all. Kiscator. Does anyone? Jean-Jacques Kiscator. Do we have any cryptographers here? Do we? You know Kiscator? Kiscator is a Belgian cryptographer, and we were helping him to select this magic constants that work the best. But he spoke about that, and so he is Merkel's aide. A political person has no direct access to the computer, works through an aide. So any victim, so we mix them with terrorists. We're using the same code. So once written, used everywhere, so very efficient and works in a stable fashion. So these guys are doing only, they're saying that they're doing only what is legal. So they keep saying that, they love it. So they repeat it as a mantra, and that they follow the law and comply with the law. But once we have to study this attack, any kind of attack, we see that the victims are specific and versatile, different kinds of victims. And when it goes into the public domain and becomes known to everyone, so then this espionage was illegal. This act of spying was not only illegal, but it destroyed the relations between the states, brought about many conflicts. So the hackathon, with the help of the combat worm, so behind which the British Special Services stood. So not only brought about the parliamentary hearings in the Belgian Parliament, but the problem was escalated to the level of the European Union, and because two countries, members of the EU and the NATO members, and they all were concerned. Is it legal? No, definitely not. It was illegal. And what did they do? So did they stop the policemen to eat donuts? No, they restricted their relationship with the British special services, because it can bring about the worsening of general relations. But using the same malware platform to attack different victims, and this is one of the strongest, one of the biggest challenges for the government spies, because what we need to do is to find one module, and then we immediately find all modules, because there is always a platform. So there are modules, and then there is a certain handling infrastructure. So getting the module, you get the platform, and then we identify immediately all victims all over the world, irrespective of who they are. And Vitaly was saying about the Merkel's aid. This is a real story, and I'm not naming this malware program, but in course of our investigation, we came to we found one of the victims in Germany, and so the only victim in Germany actually, and you will have heard that the Kaspersky laboratory for Kaspersky laboratory, Germany is one of the biggest national markets for Kaspersky lab. And they have good relations with the German police, and so maybe we have the biggest market because we have good relations with the police, and so we transferred all the information that we have identified to them, and so they detailed a special group for a check, and then said, so you hit the jackpot, guys, and we didn't say who is the victim, but they were very grateful, yes, that we hit the jackpot finding the victim, because the plank was very high, and the person was so high standing person that they never came across this before. And so then the Merkel's aid, there were some mentionings about this. And when the programs are used simultaneously to infect the members of the governments, and simultaneously the same Trojan is used to infect Islamic terrorists, so we have no choice now. We are left no choice. And finding these things, we have to talk about that. We need to make it. Thus, we're providing, and we're saving everyone. We're saving the world. We're saving not only from infection, not only Merkel's aid, but the bad guys, the terrorists, are saved as well. But you force us to do that, and so the devil's advocate speaks now. So because they play by the rules, and we don't work anywhere officially, so we don't have to comply all the time. It's true, we collect everything and we steal everything, so we're just bad guys, and we love collecting stuff, and so we collect metadata from your documents, so even remote files, so even if you want to insert a memory stick, you think it's clean, it's not, and so we take your remote documents and we appropriate them, so even the protected computers, so you're not safe, and the screenshots make screenshots, captures, keyboards, audio, and your internet traffic, and your about your favorite programs and everything, and so we steal everything, we collect everything and store carefully. So the list is endless, and we're not being modest. We take it all, and then one day we'll analyze it. So it's just better to save for future reference. So then those irresponsible thieves, these kleptomaniacs, they all follow. So this is propensity to steal everything, to catch everything, to intercept everything, and so this desire, this urge to get as much as possible. And Actually, so they can be easily caught because anti keylogger attack works. And works very well. And so it looks like this guy should have thought about that. But the more they collect, the more their presence in the system is obvious, and the volumes they steal and is huge. So they steal too much. The traffic is too large. It's huge traffic, which is easily detected, and especially so their urge to pump out this stolen information in off hours. So when at night, for example, at the office, so the computer that no one is sitting, so all of a sudden it starts to send gigabytes of traffic outside, and so this is the weakest spot, and that's how we catch them, because we can red-handed. And I don't know what they're going to do, but now this is the simplest method to identify them. And besides that, it's all these volumes of stolen data. This is something that allows us at a later stage, when we publish our running commentaries, and we can make two big news, because the media love big figures. And so, for example, the Nuclear Energy Ministry of Sudan, for example, though they don't have such ministers, they stole 2 megabytes worth of information. And the other thing is, so the Nuclear Power Ministry also had scores of the terabytes of data. So then certainly the journalists love that kind of those kinds of figures, and attracting the attention to what they do. Forces them to spend more and more resources to change programs, to hide their activities, and to back up a little bit. So your numbers are helping us, because we love those how many terabytes of data we have stolen, and so maybe tens, scores of terabytes of data. That helps us to get good compensation for that. So when everyone starts praising us, so then malware and us that we develop, we write good malware, because quality is, so we have the best programming engineers, best mathematicians, and our malware is the best. We don't make any mistakes most of the time. And so we have the best encryption, we have the best methods of compression, so we can just enjoy our algorithms. So they're just so you will immediately change your archiving machines, and so we can just write any passive developer orchestrator, so module manager that plugs in into the core, because if you write in the core, so then the code should be absolutely immaculate. That's how we write codes. And our modules never crash. Maybe once in 1,000 years it happens. Yeah, so they are developing wonderful malware. I have to give it to him. But we, as researchers, as computer geeks, so this is, as I said, is the most challenging part in our work, because everything we find, it turns out to be the most challenging, interesting, technologically perfect. And I remember 2010, when we studied one of the programs, we said, "Oh my God, this is the top. This is the coolest thing." So the code was so wonderful, so immaculate. Human beings can't do that. And then 5 years later, so that's every time, so this plank goes higher and higher. And this is very interesting for the analysis, much more challenging than the Chinese plugix, continuous unexciting stuff, and at the same time, so we love to pick to dig inside the code system, and because we like to dig in the code, because very few good specialists who can do such researches, because this is the top of reverse engineering, and so certainly we love to look for mistakes, and at the same time we come across it's a little bug in this ideal code that took years to be put together, and so find the small mistakes which crashes the entire system. So, for example, a crypto algorithm or the systems crash, even stacks. So they found it only because one of the computers crashed all the time and froze all the time, and then they started to study what caused it. And so if these guys make a mistake, they make huge, egregious mistakes, and then they have to accept the consequences. And certainly they have the problems with quality, with code quality. So since you started, yeah. So let me tell you that yes, we have in our so aliens in our staff. If there's a crash, it's their fault. Those illegal migrants from space. So the aliens, it's their fault. We don't make any mistake. The more they get into the core, the more they increase the incidence of crashing this system, and then that's what exactly we're looking for this, and so we start to dig once you make a mistake, and go for the jugular. Technological encryption system, the state. So if we see the computer crashes, and then certainly there is something interesting behind it. If after this presentation the number of circles so will decrease, it decreases, it will be certainly related to the improvement of the quality of our code.
So let me draw some conclusions from what we have been discussing. Certainly, what we call a sophisticated complexity of any target attack is automatically attracts our attention. The more sophisticated the attack is, the higher the opportunity it's done by the state. Then working with the kernel, virtual files, then hardware is the triggers. For instance, infecting the Merkel's aide. We immediately start running, gives us it triggers our activity. 0 day attracts attention because it's interesting, it's fruitful, it's useful. And the crash of the system, if the system crashes, it attracts attention. So massive infections in specific areas, if we see that the same malware keeps attacking power companies across the globe, immediately it becomes attractive. So whatever we do, we just do our job. We respond to the things that they themselves they give us a clue. They cannot work differently. They have to do complicated programs, software with rootkits, 0 days. They need to infect specific targets. That's what we use to catch them, to bait them. So if we go back to the first slide, so when we see that last year we published 11 articles on research. So this is the result of the quick adjustment of our team to such threats. We can find it quickly and thoroughly, and probably make the world better and safer. Okay, I will report to my bosses. We'll manage. So we still have some time for Q&A. So let's vote. And I want a question. I want a vote. Okay. Scream at him.
Простите, а вы тоже безработный?
So are you jobless as well? Just like me?
Смотрите, не мы начали только
Look,
вооружение.
we didn't start this arms race. We didn't. It was not us. They started it. And this eternal conflict. You see, first we have better arms and ammunition, and then we have better shells. Armor.
Я согласен с тем, что мы наносим
I
им вред.
agree that
Да, я
we
согласен с тем, что
damage
они
them,
вынуждены
we
нести
harm them. They
многомиллионные
have
расходы на то,
to
чтобы противостоять нам.
incur
Наши
multi-million
расходы
costs,
гораздо меньше.
but our costs are much less. A billion here, give or take a billion, yeah.
Расходы.
Expenditures, yes, it's to you.
Сколько стоит найти?
How much does it
Деньгах.
cost to find? In
А вы земную валюту используете или
So-
инопланетную?
so, what kind of
Dollar.
currency are you using? Dollars?
Вы не задумывались о стоимости?
Have you ever
уязвимости
thought
этой
about
чёрной
the
рыночной
vulnerability, zero-day cost in the black market? Hundreds of thousands.
Конечно, это не себестоимость.
It's not the cost, definitely, but the cost, probably if you divide it by 3, by 2, roughly.
Индуса.
An Indian,
Нет ничего дешевле, чем купить индуса.
nothing is cheaper than an Indian guy, an Indian developer.
Вносить, ну, как, это же другое дело просто, они за стенкой работают.
На самом деле баги ищем мы, да.
No, we are looking for the bugs. It's us. Some like mushrooms, but have they found it? Have they developed the bugs? So it's an open question. So, okay,
Голосуем, в общем, кто за Виталия.
time to vote. So raise your hands for Vitaly. Voting is in progress.
Вау. Конечно,
So,
по аргументам,
Vitaly.
по аргументам.
Yeah, for the arguments.
Класс. Ну, все мои.
You're all mine.
Остальные,
Кто мои?
остальные
And-
у нас работают.
The rest are working for us.
Поменьше, поменьше.
The others
Ну,
are
в
working
общем,
for me, yeah.
еще больше половины не определившихся.
Yeah, and some people have not decided yet.
Такая вещь.
So look,
Эту же самую презентацию
the same presentation
несколько дней назад наши
a few
коллеги
days ago
а,
was made by our colleagues
делали в Лондоне на конференции
in
Students
London
Conference.
at a student
Дал
spooks
небольшой
conference, a
релиз
small room,
из правительств,
people only from the government.
разработчиков. Да, так вот,
uh,
знаете, какой был счет?
You know what was the count
В пользу красных, да, вот в пользу
for the
ребят,
Reds?
44-1.
44.1, 44 versus 1. But Antivirus companies actually are fighting a losing battle.
Шансы есть,
We have
шансы есть, но
chances, but
что будет в будущем, посмотрим.
we
Если из
shall
вас
see.
кто-нибудь еще работает, приходите к нам, мы вас
So
уволим.
if you still work somewhere, come to
Ну
us,
что, на
get
этом у нас всё.
unemployed,
Спасибо за внимание.
and join us. Thank you.